Today, we're diving deep into something very serious. It's something that affects justice in Nigeria. We're talking about Nnamdi Kanu's trial and the recent strong statements from Barrister Njoku, a UK-based human rights lawyer who has openly criticized the Nigerian judiciary. Barrister Njoku has said that until Nigerian judges properly learn English, justice will continue to be mocked. He used the ongoing trial of Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of IPOB, as a very clear example. He explained that judges often misread laws written in clear, simple English, and that misreading leads to unfair outcomes. Think about it. If the judges themselves don't understand what the law is saying, how can we expect justice to be served? That's exactly what Njoku is pointing out. He emphasized that the problem is not just one judge or one court, it's the whole system. He said judges need what he calls refresher training in judicial English to strengthen their understanding of the laws. And this is not complicated language. This is English written clearly in the law. And Njoku even gave examples to prove his point. One of the key examples he mentioned is Section 333C of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, also called ARCIJA 2015. This law says that when someone raises a no-case submission, judges must examine all evidence carefully before deciding. But in Kanu's trial, according to Njoku, the court ignored evidence gathered from cross-examination. The law says clearly that this evidence must be looked at, yet it wasn't. That's a very serious issue. Another law he referred to is Section 122 of the Evidence Act. This law tells courts to recognize all laws currently in force and to be aware of any laws that have been repealed or replaced. In Kanu's case, the Terrorism Prevention Amendment Act of 2013 had been replaced by the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act 2022, but the court failed to recognize this. And Njoku says ignoring this is a grave mistake and could even make the legal process in the trial invalid. This is not just a small technicality. When the law is ignored like this, it affects fairness. It affects whether people believe the justice system works. Njoku warns that Nigeria is facing a linguistic crisis in its courts. Simple English in laws is being misunderstood or twisted. And when this happens, justice is not served. It's that simple. Now imagine sitting in a courtroom, knowing the law is clear, but the judge doesn't fully understand it. How would that feel if your life, your freedom, or your rights depended on that understanding? That's why Njoku says that until judges fully learn English, justice will continue to be mocked. This is not an attack on the judiciary. It's a call for improvement. Nigeria does not just need judicial reform. Njoku says we need judicial rehabilitation in comprehension. Every single law, every single section matters. When the wrong law is applied or when repealed laws are ignored, it undermines the entire legal system. Njoku also references previous Supreme Court rulings that reinforce the importance of following legal procedures properly. These precedents exist to make sure justice is fair, transparent, and consistent. But if judges misread them or ignore them, the system loses credibility. And this is happening right now, in real time, in Kanu's trial. Njoku points to multiple instances where legal procedures were not properly followed. He says judges are twisting language or misunderstanding the law, and that is leading to injustice. We need to pay attention to this, not just for Kanu, but for every Nigerian who seeks justice. Now, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. Every time you do, it helps us bring you more in-depth analysis like this. Barrister Njoku also mentioned that this is not just a one-off problem. The Nigerian judiciary has a history of misinterpreting simple legal language. This is why people lose faith in the system. When people feel justice is not fair, it affects society as a whole. Trust in the courts is essential. Without it, laws lose their power because people stop believing they will be applied correctly. Let me remind you again, like this video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you can follow updates closely. This isn't about being harsh on judges. Njoku says the judges need support, not attacks. He suggests regular training, refresher courses, and a serious review of how judges are interpreting the law. Think of it as upgrading the system from inside. If judges truly understand the law, then every Nigerian benefits because justice becomes predictable, fair, and credible. Now, Njoku says we can't ignore this problem. If laws are written clearly, but judges misread them, justice gets lost in translation. This affects everyone, not just political leaders or famous figures. Every citizen who relies on the courts could face unfair treatment if this continues. And this is why the conversation around Kanu's trial is so important. It's highlighting a deeper issue in the Nigerian judiciary. He also warns that ignoring such problems can have serious consequences. Misinterpretation of the law doesn't just hurt individuals, it hurts the legal system itself, it undermines the rule of law, and it erodes public trust. If we want Nigeria to have a credible judiciary, this is something that must be addressed urgently. Remember, if you're finding this discussion helpful, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends. This is the type of content that keeps everyone informed and encourages conversation about justice in Nigeria. We can see why Njoku calls this a linguistic crisis. The words in the law are clear, but if the judiciary misreads them, it's almost as if they are speaking a different language. This is not about intelligence or capability. It's about training, understanding, and ensuring that every judge fully comprehends the law before ruling on any case. So, as we continue, let's think about this carefully. Njoku points out that this is not just about one law or one trial. It's about a consistent pattern where judges misread laws that are already written in plain English. And when that happens, every Nigerian citizen feels the impact. Whether it's a criminal trial, a civil dispute, or even administrative matters, if judges misunderstand the law, justice is never fully served. For instance, in Kanu's trial, the court ignored evidence that was clearly part of the record. Evidence from cross-examination, something very basic in law, was overlooked. This is a clear violation of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act. Imagine how people feel watching this, knowing the law clearly says judges must examine such evidence, yet it was ignored. That shakes confidence in the entire system. And it's not just one mistake. Njoku also highlighted how the courts failed to recognize that the law had been repealed and replaced. The Terrorism Prevention Amendment Act of 2013 no longer exists. It has been replaced by the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act of 2022, but the court acted as if the old law was still in force. That's a huge problem because it affects the entire legal process. If the wrong law is applied, all decisions based on it could be invalid. This is why Njoku says Nigerian judges need judicial rehabilitation in comprehension. It's not enough to reform processes or introduce new laws. Judges need to fully understand what the law says in order to apply it correctly. And yes, I want to remind you, if you're enjoying this breakdown, like this video, subscribe to the channel and share it so others can join the discussion too. Let's also consider what Njoku calls the linguistic crisis. It's almost unbelievable, but simple English in laws is being twisted or misunderstood. When legal language is misread, it leads to decisions that are unfair, inconsistent, and sometimes completely wrong. This is a problem not just for Kanu or IPOB, but for anyone who comes before the Nigerian courts. Another point Njoku makes is about the role of the Supreme Court. Even at the highest levels, there are instances where judges fail to notice changes in the law. And if the Supreme Court overlooks these details, what hope do ordinary citizens have? This shows a systemic problem, and it's why people are questioning whether justice is truly being delivered in Nigeria. And I must say again, like this video and subscribe to the channel. We need your support to continue bringing you these important discussions. Every time you engage, it helps us reach more people with the truth about what's happening. Now let's think about the practical implications. If judges misread simple laws, the cases can drag on for years unnecessarily. Innocent people could spend months or years in detention without proper legal justification. People who are guilty might escape justice because of technical errors. Njoku's concern is very real. When judges misinterpret law, the consequences are serious. He also mentions that past Supreme Court rulings reinforce the need to apply the law correctly. Ignoring these precedents shows a lack of comprehension that undermines the authority of the entire judiciary. When laws are clear and judges ignore them, the legal system loses credibility. People start to feel that the courts are not for justice, but for confusion. And again, if you're following this and finding it useful, hit like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts below. We want to know what you think about this linguistic crisis in the judiciary. Do you agree that judges need refresher training in English comprehension? How do you feel about the handling of Kanu's trial? Let's also consider the broader message Njoku is sending. He's warning that this is not just about one case. This is about ensuring fairness across all Nigerian courts. Every time a law is misunderstood, it sets a precedent for future errors. Every Nigerian, rich or poor, deserves a fair trial. And without proper comprehension, that fairness is lost. So, what does Njoku suggest? Regular training for judges, clear review of laws, and perhaps a system to ensure that repealed or amended laws are always recognized in court. It's about building a judiciary that fully understands what the law says, not just a judiciary that can recite it. And that, my viewers, is where the real problem lies. I want to remind you again, like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. The more support we get, the more we can keep bringing you these in-depth news and legal breakdowns. In simple terms, what we're seeing is that the Nigerian judiciary is struggling with something basic, understanding the words of the law. And until that is fixed, cases like Kanu's will continue to raise questions about fairness. Njoku is making it clear, comprehension is the key to justice.